Ahoy! Today we're talking about the patch notes for patch 7.12. And if you're wondering why I'm looking like this, why I'm wearing this right now, in this room, it's 32 degrees right now, so be glad I'm wearing anything at all. Or don't be, I don't know. Anyways, also, before we get started with this, the Golden Bolts Awards nominations, or the voting is still going on for a few more days. If you would like to support me there, feel free to do so. I'll drop the link down below again. You have like 2 more days and then it's over, I think. So yeah, if you haven't voted yet, please make sure to do that if you want to vote for me. And other than that, let's jump into the patch notes for Danzaburou. We're going to start out with the balance of Danzaburou itself and then go through the rest. So the passive was something that I didn't quite catch on the patch notes because we were shooting projectiles at the same time. So let's have a better look at this one. It's dubious savings. Every time Danzaburou actively gains gold, he stores 10% into one of his money pouches instead. So he would earn less and he stores that instead. When a pouch is completely filled, Danzaburou gains bonus gold and a permanent physical power increase before switching to a larger money pouch. The pouch gold is 80, 140, 200 and 300. So, in other words, for the last one you would have to have 3000 gold, which means overall it'll take quite a while to get all this. We're looking at like 7200 gold in total, I think, that you have to collect for this to be fully filled. But you also get bonus power along the way. You get up to 40 bonus power here. And then you get bonus gold resulting from it. And that's quite a lot. So the first pouch is 180 bonus gold. Then you have 265, 350, and then 500 bonus gold. So effectively, you're getting interest in this system, which delays your build a little bit at the start. But then once you hit each cap, you will gain more. And given that the first cap here is at 800 gold, that's something you should reach before you go back the first time, like before you base the first time. So that's not really going to be a problem. And the second one is then like around the same price as boots, assuming like you're not going into boots first, then you would get the gold from that. So usually you should be okay. And usually you should come out with a net bonus of gold, because by the time you get to those later ones where you really need to earn 3000 gold, you've already gotten 180 in bonus gold, 265 and 350. So overall you will still have more gold at that point. So generally speaking, you will just have more gold in the vast majority of scenarios from what I can tell so far. And you get bonus power along with it, which obviously, given that this is a relatively early thing, will really boost your early and mid game. Along with that, you have an ability that puts in the work, and that's Fool's Gold. Danzaborou rolls out 3 money bags that pass through and damage enemy minions, and they split in like basically, well, 1 projectile goes straight and 2 go like diagonal from that center point. And they stop on enemy guards and they slow down as they travel. Guards hit are damaged and intoxicated, so as you see in here as well, dropping a gold coin that Danzaburo's ally can pick up to provide him 10 gold. So you can hit all 3 on 1 enemy if they're close enough, I think. You can hit 2 enemies if you aim it right, 2 guards, and then you still get 20 gold. And otherwise, if you hit 1 enemy, you still get 10 gold, and your ally can pick that up for you and you'll still get that gold. When a money bag stops moving, it reveals to be an explosive which detonates after a short delay. Subsequent hits of the money bag or explosions deal 20% damage. So, the base damage of this ability is 70 to 290 plus 80% scaling. I actually pulled up NERFS stats here just to have a rough idea. NERFS has 350 base and 80% scaling, or Cupid for reference, also ability based, has 170 per part, so 320 in total, but then plus 160% scaling. So base damage wise, not the highest on the initial hit, but high enough for sure. And scaling wise, it's relatively average. But it doesn't really, it doesn't really hit the late game ceiling that some other abilities will from this alone. But then you have this secondary explosion, which deals an additional 30 to 130 damage, plus 30% of your physical power. So this detonation can ramp up the damage. What is not clear to me here is subsequent hits of the money bag or explosions deal 20% damage. So subsequent meaning if you get hit by multiple explosions of multiple bags, or multiple money bags as well, right? If you're in the enemy's face, you will definitely take 20% of this damage for every additional pouch you get hit by. Or does the first explosion always do this damage even if you had the normal damage here? which I would think is the case. It would be like a warding system. Otherwise, it would be kind of punishing to hit both almost. Not punishing, but hardly worth it if this one is reduced immediately. And especially with the scaling here, you'll still get a 110 scaling of this if it works as I think it does. And then you could get up to 420 damage, fitting, if you hit everything. But obviously the detonation is not going to be that easy to hit because it has a radius. Though the enemy is intoxicated for a brief duration, which might have an impact here as well. And the duration of the intoxication scales up from 0.6 to 1.4 seconds with the ability leveling. So it's definitely worth leveling in that regard as well. I think this is going to be his main clear anyway, so you're probably going to level that. Cost goes up from 70 to 90 mana, and there's 12 seconds cooldown, so relatively short from the start. So I would say this is like his bread and butter skill. And you also want to use this just to get this bonus gold all the time. So really there's no reason not to, I would say. The next one is Alluring Spirit. That's his 2. And I didn't actually realize this initially, but this ability deals damage as well, by the way. So first he drinks from the bottle, and that heals him a little bit, 30 to 110, plus 20% physical power. Somebody in my comments already pointed out you can run Shield of Regrowth and speed yourself up for that. But I think that's going to rework next season anyways. No, that was the other one. No, Shield of Regrowth actually might work the same. Then you have the damage of the ability itself here when you hit them with the inner circle of it. It has like a small inner circle and a wider circle. This is 80 to 280 plus 70% of your physical power. And then the bottle stays in place and applies effects to enemies. It applies a slowing effect initially, 10% for 1.5 seconds, maximum 3 stacks, which if you get hit by all 3 is pretty significant. It's a 30% slow. And then if all 3 are applied, the enemy gets taunted. And the taunt lasts for 1 second. This is something, well, I don't want to say Loki-esque, but in the broadest sense, it's somewhat similar to his new second ability. And what's different here is that the bottle that gets thrown can be broken, and it can be broken relatively easily on lower levels. So on the first 2 ranks, this only takes 2 hits to break. So you might just be better off turning on that bottle for a second and not being bothered by that zoning that it provides Danzaburou with. We'll have to see if that's worth it, or if in most situations you don't want to do that. But if you're like close to your support and you're the support and you get this thrown at you and you're the ADC and then helping out, it should be cleared pretty quickly. But on the highest rank, it's 4 shots, which is obviously a lot more. We know that from Persephone, that 4 shots in the middle of a team fight, 5 shots can feel like a lot, so 4 shots will also feel like a lot. That comes with a mana cost of 60 to 80, and a cooldown that goes down from 16 seconds to 12 seconds. What's also important here is that the taunt, the 1 second taunt, does not like factor in diminishing returns at all. They're not affected by that, so it'll always be 1 second, and that's why I think you might want to destroy it beforehand, because otherwise you're gonna be attacking it anyways, unless you can get out of the radius. It's also interesting that you have the intoxication from the first ability that you can kind of combine with this to put them more into the slow. So you have quite a lot of CC that you can set up to do damage to enemies, and obviously both abilities deal damage, right? This is almost the same damage in this ability again. It's a 10 less base damage and 10% less scaling. That's not a significant difference. It's worse for clearing because of the smaller radius, but for poke and everything and yeah, just lane bullying, this guy is gonna have a lot. So again, very early game, mid game focus guard. His third ability is Tanuki Trickery. This is it has 2 parts. I would recommend watching the video where I showed what it looks like, what happens in the ability itself. So he creates this AoE field first that is very visual on the map. It has like bamboo branches and whatnot. And in this field, he moves faster, 10 to 20% depending on the level. He is slow immune, and he takes less damage from basic attacks, 20% less damage. Enemies that go into the field are also slowed by 20%, which is almost surprising to me because everything else is kind of more about him, and then that's slowed. So if you were to fight them him in there, you would be slowed by 20%, and he would get up to 20% movement speed, usually just 10%, because I think this is what you're gonna max last. There was also something mentioned on the patch notes that he doesn't suffer from the movement penalty. This is not mentioned here. It says that he's slow immune, but I'm not sure if that implies the basic attack reduction penalty. or the movement reduction penalty. So yeah, I can't say what the outcome is, if they forgot to put it in here or if it was changed since the patch notes because they realized it's so strong. It could be either. We'll have to find out in game. Either way, he also has the option to go outside of this circle that he forms. And when he does that, then he turns into a leaf. And it's kind of like a decoy because there's leaves all around him that move in a circle with him. So you don't really know which leaf he is. Like his allies know, but his enemies won't know. And he gets increased movement speed. He gets 20 to 40% increased movement speed when he is in this leaf form. However, if he gets hit by any ability from enemy gods, then he will be revealed. And likewise, if he attacks, he will also be revealed. And then the whole trickery goes away. I'm not sure what this means for damage over time. If any hit counts in damage over time as well, then obviously any dot guard will be a very strong counter to Danzaburo because it makes his escape a lot weaker. The field duration is 5 seconds and the leaf duration is 4 seconds. I am not entirely sure if you can abuse it. I think that the maximum duration is not 9 seconds from what we saw from when Hyris showed it. I think that it cuts out after a certain time. So if you wait for half of the field duration and then go into the leaf, I think it's shortened as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. 70 mana cost and a 16 seconds cooldown. This is essentially, in my opinion, something between an Anhur pillar, but reversed, because you get the benefits inside of it, and well, the enemy is slowed as well, but most of the things are for you, and the enemy doesn't want to go in there because you get so many benefits and take less damage, blah, 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 blah. And it's also a bit of a Skadi ice field, because enemies that go into it get slowed and therefore debuffed, while if you walk out of it, you then get the extra movement speed. What I'm not sure about is like the slow duration here. If you walk into the field and Danzaburo walks out, it might be that the slow instantly is cancelled because the slow is attached to the field, or it might be that the slow lingers for whatever, 1 second or something. That would obviously have different implications on how you want to use this ability as well. So we'll have to find out, again, in-game, how that works exactly. And last but not least, we have the ultimate Uproarious Rocket. This makes him summon a rocket that he can just fire forward, and while it's charging up in like a 1.5 seconds duration, he can angle it differently. He has like a 180 radius in which he can angle it, and he can use that to lock it onto enemy guards. So it's not really like Athena ult, but it's not really like Neith ult, but it's kind of in a way like it, because you have to aim at the guard first. You can't just choose them like that. You have to aim at the guard, but then once you've locked in a guard and you didn't miss them while aiming, then the rocket will fire onto them, will lock onto them, and will chase them. But it's not as fast as a Neith ult either, so it's not like a massive thing. It's rather a relatively slow projectile, all things considered, but you can also avoid it. Like it locks onto you, but if you, for example, jump over a wall and it crashes into a wall, it will explode still. If you get hit by the rocket, it'll deal 300 to 540 damage, plus 110% physical power scaling, and it stuns you for 1 to 1.4 seconds. I think it's a very interesting ability, and how strong it'll be exactly is something that is very hard to determine. Because it also has a second part that allows you to ride the rocket. In that case, you're not actually locking it on, I think. You can definitely control it at that point. And then you can steer yourself into the enemy. You can also clear minions with this. It actually damages enemies, minions and passes through them. And it also deals AoE damage and an explosion for 50% of the normal damage of the ability without the stun as well. It has a cost of 100 mana and a 90 seconds cooldown, so pretty standard here. Overall, I find it really hard to say how good this is going to be. Hyris has already mentioned that in the jungle it's going to be very hard to use because realistically the auto aim is not going to work around walls, so either you fly it yourself or you're not going to hit it. And if you fly it yourself, obviously as an ADC, you put yourself in a very dangerous spot. But at the same time, you could possibly abuse that by using this and then using your 3 and just crashing into an enemy, stunning them, and then slowing them with your 3, putting them at a disadvantage in terms of the damage they deal to you, and then, dropping your 2 on them and zoning them off completely because they risk getting taunted, and then finish them off with your 1 or whatever. So there's a lot of combo potential here, depending on how things go and how the situation goes. And what I also imagine might happen is that if you miss the target while trying to lock on, depending on how it exactly goes, you have to use the ultimate again to hop onto the rocket. It might still be possible to hop onto the rocket. So if you miss and you're like, okay, I still want to go in, maybe I can do this, you can still hop into the rocket and then chase them down and hit them afterwards. Not 100% sure in this. Again, this is just what it seems to be like so far. Very, very interesting. He has a lot of high ability damage. The ultimate is actually not that crazy. It's comparable to, other AoE ults more than high single target ults. If you look at, for example, Anher's number, if you hit every tick of his ultimate, it's way, way more. It's like more than double that. Whereas it's maybe closer to, let's see, Cupid, I think, is around that realm as well. Yeah, 540 plus 100. So Cupid has slightly less scaling, but then Cupid is also a much bigger AoE in that sense. So yeah, interesting one. Can't really say how good the ultimate is going to be. I think the 3 and the 2 are really the crazy ones. With the 2, we'll have to see how easy it is to clear out and how quickly everything applies as well. I think that makes a huge difference. But even the 1, it sounds like a very strong ability. Like overall, I think he's going to be very strong. And he's going to be very frustrating to deal with in lane. I think a lot of people will just dislike playing against him for the laning phase. But then in late game, it's going to be interesting if his ability damage is going to be enough for him. And I think it hinges a lot on if he gets the haste effect in the 3 as well. Because if he gets the haste effect, I would say that is often better than an actual attack speed steroid. If you get way more attack speed, but you miss a single shot, it still makes a massive DPS difference compared to someone who maybe has 60% less attack speed, but hits 2 shots because they got sped up a little bit and were able to hit the enemy. So that's something that I think should not be underestimated, and especially if you can combine that with Atalanta's bow. You can kind of take down one target with this ability, and then you can get the secondary weaker haste afterwards to chase down the next one after you already used haste against the first one, which, I don't know, sounds very scary to me. We'll find out. We'll find out if that's actually the case. But for now, I think he's definitely an interesting one. I would say towards the stronger side, also with his gold and everything. Now we'll see if he can actually win games. I think that's going to be a crucial thing. But then again, ADCs in late game, no matter who they are, do a lot of damage. So I don't think he'll struggle too much. And his escape potential between his 3 and his ultimate is also not terrible, at least. The 3 is, I think, the bigger escape. But again, maybe dot guards will be really good. Maybe Daji will just count him out completely. Whereas the ultimate is apparently really easy to body block. If you want to take that damage, then you can just use that to prevent him from escaping with the ult, because it has a 1.5 seconds charge up as well. So yeah, going to be interesting. Then we have a bunch of skins. We're not going to look at them in detail here. It's an Athena skin, Ram skin from the Odyssey. And then we have Chilling Wraith, Hades, and Snow Kitten Bastet from the Winter Wonderland chest. We have the Danzaburo recolor here. We have the secondary recolor. We have his gold skin. We have a Fire's Molten Lava skin for Cthulhu. That's going to be in the SMITE Friends bundle. Same with Danzaburo. And then we have a new chest with Radiant Heroine Bellona, which is the Righteous Paladin chest. We have Saurian Conjurer Aposh, Mystic Shaman chest. This one looks really cool in my opinion. We have Phoenix Fury Kukulkan, also SMITE Friends reward. We have Malware Monarch Persephone, also SMITE Friends. Same with World to Nemesis. Then we have Space Cadet Vulcan, Retro Space chest. That's a pretty cool one. We have Living Alloy Yamaganda and the Metal Demon chest. And we have SMITE World Championship Chang'e, which is a SMITE World Championship viewer reward. Pretty interesting skin, very unusual for Chang'e. I really like it actually. So very interesting one. If you want to check out those skins, obviously check out the live patch notes view where you can see all of those in detail. I also have Zero Gravity Nike, SMITE Friends thing, Witching Our Freya, and then we have the Fighter Beast chest, which turns Thor into a wolf, Thunderfang Thor, and Rogue Android Izanami in the Broken Android chest. Also pretty cool skin actually in game. Okay. Here's an overview of when all the things come out. I'm not going to go through all this in detail. You can just, look at that. But that's an introduction to the SMITE Friends event here, because it's a little bit different from previous events. So this event celebrates SMITE's many friendships, featuring our brand new besties, Ymir and Danzaburou, the most dynamic duo out there. This event will have 6 purchasable exclusive skins in total, with 2 skins releasing every 2 weeks. Each skill skin will have an initial discount of 25% for that release only. Purchase all 6 skins to unlock the unlimited Phoenix Fury Kukulkan skin, which is a pretty crazy skin to be honest. When purchasing a SMITE Friends event skin, you will also receive a gift token of a certain type. Emote, voice pack, tier 2 skin, or awesome gift. Gift tokens allow you to send a gift to a friend on your friend list in the gift store, or maybe make a new friend by giving them blah 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 blah. You can just gift it to anyone. Send your friends gifts this season and spread the joy of friendship. So basically a Christmas event in a way. And yeah, that's all the skins in there. We already looked at those, and then there's some extra reward here, some boosters and everything. Interesting, 5 times XP Worshipper Battle Pass booster. I've never seen that before, I didn't know that exists. So yeah, that type of stuff. Then there is a quality of life upgrade, end of the match lobby update, which is completely overhauls the visual design of the end of the match lobby. You can also see that on the live patch notes again if you want to see it. Yeah, there's a new details, like a graph screen that displays the same stats that you can see in the post game lobbies as graphs. Why that exists, I don't know. It doesn't really change anything. Maybe if you're more of a visual type, then that'll help you. But yeah, some more details there really, but not really much new stuff. I'd rather see those things invested into a new in-game UI. Yeah, buff camps one animation, which was a clash. It's an update. In-game store is nice. They did a few of those, not just these ones. Certain items were not included in the stores before because of their passives. That's not changed. So for example, if you look for magical penetration, Stone of Binding is there now. Attack speed, Shogun Kusari is there now. And there's some more down here later that we can talk about or not. And then we have the kill streak timer being increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So that's if you want to get a penta, you now have 5 more seconds for that. And I think that feels better. I think it often felt a little bit short and a little bit weird. So I think this is a good change. SPL voting update, tournament mode voting will be enabled for SMITE World Championship, which is a different structure than normal voting, so keep that in mind. Screen can be accessed by moving ahead week by week in the vote section of the esports hub. Bunch of bug fixes here of all kinds, really nothing that we need to talk about too much. I think it's mostly like crashes and disconnects. There is one that I thought was really interesting. Introduce some code to prevent guards from missing dashes at point blank range. I think this is referring to especially Red Tusker on ping. There are certain guards, and Red Tusker is one of them where I know this happens, where when you're like really close to an enemy and you dash and you're 100% sure your dash connected, it'll sometimes just not connect because of like slight server differences basically. And I would imagine that this code may influence that to some degree, at least fix it or whatever. I don't know, but that would be very nice if that's the case. And also modified the way stealth works better to better handle skins with translucent materials. Not sure what was happening with that. Maybe they were still visible or too invisible. I don't know. Various changes to various guards here that are fixes. Nothing really that dramatically changed the outcome of the game though. And again, here are these items as well that get put in additional categories now, so that you have a better overview of, or not rather overview, but rather if you're looking for an item quickly through the tabs, then you can find them better now. Some clash-related fixes again, but yeah, nothing major there. Conquest gets a little bit of a visual change for SMITE World Championship. There are some logos all over the map. There's some statues of previous World Champion skins and all that stuff. So the map will have a little bit of a different theme for SMITE World Championship, just to have like some iconic icons, basically. The iconic Thor hammer is next to the fire giant and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Corrupted Arena is coming back as a temporary game mode. And Clash has received a lighting update as well. So there will not be any item changes at all, because SMITE World Championship is coming up and they're quite happy with the state of those for now, and then we'll obviously do a lot with Season 8. We've already seen that. There are, however, a lot of guards that get some changes. The first one is Ra. Ra gets a nerf to Solar Blessing, decreasing the physical power, magical power, and the protections. 10 on the magic protections. 10 on the protections at max rank here, and 10 on the physical power at max rank, and 10 on the magic power at max rank. So quite a bit of a nerf there. Ra's been doing pretty well. He's got the buff that cleanses slows. I think that really makes him strong enough to be nerfed in other places, and that's basically what's happening now. So yeah, he's been doing pretty well. Erlang Shen has been doing well for a long time. I think everyone knows that at this point, not just in competitive, but in general. So he gets a nerf to spot weakness, increasing the mana cost as well as decreasing the base damage a little bit. It's not a massive nerf, but keep in mind this is per hit. I think that's a good amount of changes here. I think Erlang Shen is a god that's not like unstoppable insane. He's just very good. So he doesn't need massive nerfs. So I'm very happy with the direction they're taking here. Yeah, even though I don't really play Erlang Shen, I always think that he's a god that has very clear counterplay as well. And that is something that maybe allows him to be a little bit stronger than some others without being a problem. And he's obviously very, very easy to play. Persephone gets a nerf, but a relatively minor one. They know that she may need more nerfs after Worlds. They just don't want to drastically change her before Worlds. And this goes for quite a few other gods as well. What they're nerfing here is with Grasp of Death. If you miss the ultimate and you hit them all, then the deployable and the vines will only have 3 health points instead of 5. So you only have to hit it 3 times to clear it out. This is basically punishing you for just throwing it at a wall or missing it, rather than being a massive nerf to her. And I think it's absolutely fair. You know, if you whiff your ult, then you should be punished to some degree at least. Yemoja gets 2 nerfs. The slow of Riptide is decreased from 30 to 20%, and the ultimate cooldown is increased from 100 seconds to 110 seconds. I think this is a good way to nerf her specifically for competitive. Because the Riptide slow is just barely used on lower levels of play, or not effectively enough used on lower levels of play for that to really be a major factor. Most Yemoja players that you see on lower levels of play use the 1 and the 2. They don't really use the 3 very much unless it's to escape. And those like disruption 3s to set someone back are really hard to hit. So this is very much for the highest level of play. And the ultimate, something that you'll notice a little bit more. But at the same time, like the increased cooldown is something you notice more on higher levels of play, where the ultimate is basically used almost on cooldown, also compared to lower levels of play. So I think these nerfs are a pretty good idea that will not have a major impact on the lower levels of play while targeting the higher levels of play, specifically where she's doing very well. Well, in competitive at least. Sobek gets a nerf because he's been doing pretty well in SPL and ranked, most contested support, or one of the most contested supports. Damage decrease on the ultimate from 350 to 950 to 300 to 950 on the lowest rank. Makes me sad. I love Sobek, but I can understand what's happening. Though to be fair, like there are limited situations where you get the full ultimate charge off anyways. Set gets a nerf to Skewer, increasing the cooldown from 8 seconds to 9 seconds. I actually had to look that up a little bit because I thought this was a revert. It was actually not a revert. It was rather the fact that he used to have way less damage on it, then the damage was increased, then the cooldown was increased from 7 to 8 seconds, and then the damage was increased again, and the cooldown stayed the same. So now we get another cooldown increase along with that. And I think it's better to have this ability on a slightly longer cooldown, but with more damage as well. I think that's justifiable. Set's been doing very well, so fair enough. Morrigan's Changeling now takes over jungle buffs and consumables of all kinds, so power potions, boost potions, all that stuff, so that she's a bit more effective in that form in late game. It's your own though, not the enemies. So you have to get that. If the enemy's way ahead, you're still gonna be slowed without boots. Then Zeus, Ymir, and Terra all get the same thing basically. They can use an ability over walls now. For Zeus, that's Aegis Assault, so this may be good to finish off an enemy that's running away that you can't get, who jumped over a wall or something. For Ymir, that is his wall, and for Terra, that's her crushing earth, so technically our walls as well. So these abilities kind of felt like they should be usable over walls, what Hyra said, and I agree with that, and now you can do that. Bellona gets a pretty big buff in my opinion. I actually wanted to look that up again. I had a tab open for that because I wanted to make sure I get this right. So Bellona gets her Master of War passive increased from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. A Master of War can give you up to 25 protections of both kinds and up to 15% movement speed. So this lasting a fair bit longer means that she can stick to enemies better, she can survive better in a fight if she can't stick to enemy for a second. Yeah, it's just going to be good buffs, but also not insane buffs on their own. Then at the same time, the weapon duration for all weapons is increased from 5 to 7 seconds, matching Master of War exactly. So yeah, if you're out of combat for a bit longer, you can still keep your weapon. And if your weapon would normally change mid-swing, so you go from bludgeon to the sword, that'll no longer happen. It will stay on the bludgeon, and then it refreshes the bludgeon as well, so you keep the bludgeon afterwards. It's not this weird half swing reset anymore, which I think will feel a lot better. And to give her more of a utility bonus to others as well, Eagle's Rally also gets a buff, now providing magical power to allies as well, 35 to 75. I think this was something that somebody criticized, I think maybe on Reddit even. So very interesting to see it introduced now. The physical power is also increased from 10 to 50 to 20 to 60, so it's worth a little bit more to stand in the ultimate. And the flag duration is changed from 6 to 10 seconds to 8 seconds at all ranks. I think this is good because the majority of the game this is gonna feel the same or better. And usually enemies won't stay around that area for 10 seconds anyway, so it's not like you're massively losing out on late game. Cthulhu gets a camera fix, basically making him more visible when he's using Thorns in his ultimate. And Hell gets a fix or a change so that her healing increases now applies to all kinds of healing, which I think should, once again, like Asclepius, also include lifesteal. Then again, do you really need lifesteal when you have a Hell around? Loki gets a very interesting buff. Flurry Strike increased the final damage from 40 to 140 to 55 to 135. So 15 damage increase on the lowest rank, but 5 off the top at the highest rank. But at the same time, the scaling is increased from 60 to 70%. This obviously rewards playing Loki with a more damage focused build a little bit more, helps his jungle, especially where you level this first, like his early jungle pressure is going to be a lot higher, his early jungle clear is going to be a lot higher. I think this will be very noticeable, especially hitting that across 3 targets as well, and having that scale increase from the start of the game as well. So if you got a little bit of power, you're also going to notice this. They said they specifically do not want to change the speed of the ability because they want to not bring Loki back to his old frustrating point where he does so much damage so quickly that it's very hard to counter and react. I'm fine with them just upping the damage and then, you know, it comes out to the same results. If I'm swinging this longer and doing less basic attacks but doing more damage that way or the other way around, like, I don't really care. I think Loki is getting pretty good with these changes. Like he's just gonna creep up slowly because people still have this mindset that he's old Loki, or that he's only tank Loki now or something, when Loki jungle is not bad. That's all I'm saying. Tyr, not really been doing too much, so fair enough that he's getting a buff. I think statistically one of the worst cards in the game right now. Increase a Soul Sense power from 0 to 50, or like, first rank, 0 is the 0 rank, but first rank 10 to 50 to 18 to 50. So that the first point in this ability is more rewarding, and likewise the defense stance also goes from 10 up to 18 in protection on the first rank. So the first ranks of this ability are better. In late game it's the same. I think they could have just buffed it outright, like across all ranks, but I can see this being a good start. Ao Kuang gets multiple buffs. One is to Dragon King's Sword, that's his bonus healing and bonus damage, I think. Let me check that. And the cooldown reduction on the first ability he uses, yeah, it's a 5% self-heal. Oh no, it doesn't actually do bonus damage, it's just a 5% self-heal and reduces your own cooldowns. He's got so many passives all the time, I get so lost with him. But yeah, the charge up of that is decreased from 20 seconds to 12 seconds, so you will have that a fair bit more often for some sustained finds and to use abilities more often. Keep in mind though that his ultimate fully chests anyway, so I think you'll notice it sometimes. The other thing is a revert for Dragon Call, increasing the damage from 30 to 90 to 35 to 95, which results in a total of 30 extra damage because it's 6 dragons. If you land all of them, which obviously is also relevant for things like early jungle clear or early ganks, everything. He has been doing okay in ranked, decent in ranked, but it doesn't really do anything in competitive especially, so yeah, fair enough. Sylvanas gets an increase to his movement speed of 5, base attack speed goes up by 0.05 to 0.9, and his base attack speed per level goes up from 0.6 to 0.8. Cool. Attack speed Sylvanas, let's go. Now he scales better with everything. No, I don't know. They're talking about potentially giving him a different passive in the future as well, because it's just a starting point for him, really. We have to see. I think Sylvanas is an interesting one. Might just be way more viable in the next meta anyway, so it's not going to drastically change before Worlds, probably. Artio has been doing relatively poorly for a very long time. She gets some nice changes. So mana cost decrease for energy surge and maul prey. 10 mana of everything basically. Pretty good. Decompose, the duration of the protection reduction is increased from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. So basically you can stay in the fight a little bit longer and reap the benefits. And Shapeshift also gets the duration increased from 4 seconds to 6 seconds. That's increased movement speed as well as the MP5. May make it a little bit more worth to put a few more points into this ability as well, so that's nice. Amazon Cup gets a revert on stinger damage, back from 255 to 575 to now 275 to 595, so 20 across all ranks flat. And the power scanning is increased from 100 to 110%. He's just not been doing that. He's not been doing that well, so he gets a little bit off a buff. Fair enough. Don't think it's gonna make him insane again, but he also fluctuates a lot. Apollo gets a clear increase. So beautiful, increased damage from 80 to 320 to 90, 330. I think especially the first rank here is relevant because it'll just give him a little bit more lane pressure. If that's enough for Apollo, I don't know. Artemis, Transgressor's Fate, increased the deploy range from 35 to 40 units. They said they're going to be very careful with this because this could drastically change the outcome of a fight, basically, if you can place it very far away. So they're only doing 5 units. I feel like you're not going to notice that all too much unless you're like an Artemis main and you play it all the time and you know exactly what the range difference is. But fair enough. We'll see how it goes. Chuck is an interesting one. Stormcall increased damage mitigation Chuck gains while channeling from 50% at all ranks to 50 to 70%. In late game, you will reduce damage incoming by 70% and then your protections come in, so you take like 8 damage. I don't know. During the ultimate, specifically. I think this is interesting because it gives them more of an option to use the ultimate to mitigate strong damage as well, like say like a Raoul, the Poseidon or something. And yeah, I want to see how this plays out. Chuck's been like slowly getting up and ranked at least in terms of performance. So let's see. Maybe Chuck at Worlds, that would be sick. Then we have Arpwash. Some bugs regarding minions killing his corpses and mana cost reduction across all of his abilities. I think it's basically all of them reduced by 10. No, never mind. It's first one is down by 10. The second ability is down. Corpse Explosion is 60 at all ranks now, so no punishment for leveling up. And Fleeting Breath was 70 and now goes from 60 to 80 depending on the rank. I usually level that last, so that's fine. So, a bunch of interesting changes. I think a lot of them are very cool and a lot of them are, not overdue, but like we were expecting to see those now, so I'm very happy that they're happening. And I think this is a good patch state going into Worlds, SMITE World Championship. So yeah, I'm happy with this. And this is what we'll see throughout all of December. There will not be another patch on show in December. So these will stay around for quite a while and we'll have to toy around with Danzaburou. I don't know. Well, maybe they'll do an emergency nerf for Danzaburou if he's like really overwhelming. But otherwise, this is what we'll stick with until the next season. And that's when the really interesting stuff comes, which I think will be announced in early January. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to the channel and you will stay updated of everything SMITE related, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell so you get notified of that. Also, I have a Cyberpunk video later today if you want to see that. And again, if you haven't voted yet, feel free to vote for me at the Golden Bolts. Link will be down below. Hope to see you for the next one soon. Duke Sloth, out.